Alrighty. So normally I would do a news of the day again at the end of the day, along with the review. However, there's 9 games tonight, so since there's going to be a lot of games to cover, and it's going to be a full board, I don't want to do 2 boards in the same video. I think that's going to end up being a really long video. So we're going to talk some news of the day, kind of stuff that's gone on that I haven't mentioned yet in previous videos. Kiefer Bellows is among the demotions for the Islanders. The Islanders are just demoting guys that aren't ready yet. Same with Evan Bouchard with the Oilers. I was surprised by Bouchard. I thought that there would be a spot for him on the blue line. I guess not. Of course, Pearson got hurt last night. He got taken out of the game. They said it was precautionary. We'll see. A lot of guys who are getting hurt, and coaches will just say, it's precautionary. It's no big deal. Everybody's looking at October 2nd and going, all right, they'll all be fine then. There won't be any injuries left over on the 2nd. They're all good. Everybody's going to be back. Don't you worry. Yep. Seattle's hired 5 pro scouts. The dominant name on the bunch seems to be Cami Granato, as she's the first female scout, professional scout anyways, for an NHL team. And she, Ulf Samuelsson, Stu Barnes, Dave Hunter, and John Goodwin now have 2 full years to get ready for the expansion draft and to do a lot of scouting on the players who may very well become members of the Seattle insert name team there. Klaatu Verata Nikto, that would be great. Anyhow. There, I said it. I said the words. Okay, so those are your 5 scouts. We'll see how it turns out. Stu Barnes was a big fan of when he was a player. Ulf Samuelsson, as a Cam Neely fan, not as much. But that being said, might be perfectly fine as a pro scout. And Cami Granato, congratulations on this milestone. And I hope, honestly, that it's less news, down the road than it is now. When a woman gets hired for a job, that it becomes, look, it's a woman, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm looking forward to that just not being news. I was not thinking it's a big deal. So that's why I'm putting all 5 names on the board, because if you're browsing around, you might just hear about Cami and not the other guys, including Alfie, who I'm pretty sure had over 1,000 games played in the NHL. Stu Barnes may have as well. I know he wasn't far off. And Dave Hunter had a nice career in the NHL as well. John Goodwin, I'm not familiar with, but you know what? Seattle seems to know what they're doing. I like what Seattle's doing, and I think some people are going to be surprised at what Seattle gets. I do. I don't expect Vegas levels of success, but I would not be surprised if they're a playoff team in year 1. Not a Stanley Cup favorite or anything, but I think a wild card is possible first year for Seattle just because of what they're going to have available to them at that expansion draft. Dubinsky, if you have a hockey pool that's regarding injuries, like, all right, who had Dubinsky getting hurt? He's out with a wrist injury and likely will not be in the lineup for the opening night of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And this is sadly just something that you can kind of count on to some extent with Dubinsky. An injury at some point during any given season happens as well when players get older, so it's one of those things. Dubinsky likely not going to be in their lineup for the opening night. Robin Lehner has a right hip injury that's kept him off the ice, and again, it's no big deal, nothing to see here. Don't you worry about it. It's not a real injury. Those don't happen until the regular season. It's an exhibition injury. They only exist for a week. So nothing to worry about with Lehner. And Carey Price has a minor hand injury. Again, nothing to worry about here. He is going to be just fine. It's not a problem. Don't you worry about a thing. It's a bruise. I believe it's his catching hand. So again, it probably really isn't a big deal, but it's funny because it's going to be newsworthy since we all know the reliance they've had on Price in the past. So there you go. I also wanted to take a moment here, and I put it on the board to make sure that it was here, to thank you people. Those of you out there, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, for productive discussions. We exist online in this world where everybody takes their position here and their position here, and there's no conversation in between. I like to think of this channel as a place where we can kind of meet in the middle, and we can say, all right, I don't necessarily agree, but I understand your perspective. And this is about everything in and around the hockey world, and this is about other topics that come into it as well. I think it's important to continue those discussions, and as long as they are productive discussions, I think they do a load of good. There are a lot of people who will take take lines according to what team a player plays for, given any circumstance. Given, well, I never really liked that player anyways, so is part of it as well. And I'm very grateful for people online that I can have this discussion with, and we can have a productive discussion out of it. I know, at my old job, I would have discussions all day about hockey with people who may not agree with me on anything, but we would have really good discussions, and I would understand their perspective, they would understand mine. And that's kind of how this channel came about. People ask me, how did you come up with the idea for your channel? I would watch media in Canada especially, and I would see coverage of certain teams, coverage of certain players, and I would think either there was an overexposure or an underexposure, and that certain stories I didn't feel were being covered. So that's how this channel came into being, and that's how things evolved to where they are now. And that's still really important to me. So thank you for those of you that are here, that are still here. Thumbs up or thumbs down, wherever your thumb may be. The fact that you're still watching videos is greatly appreciated. And I'm very grateful for the discussions we have on this channel that seem to go somewhere where we can actually have this conversation. It is part of the reason why I've evolved as a hockey fan since this channel came in as well. I'm not sure if anybody's noticed over the years, but the edge has really come off with me as well. I was very loudly hating of anything Toronto Maple Leafs related, Montreal related, anything related to Pittsburgh. And while I may not cheer for Pittsburgh or Montreal, all of that vitriol is gone. It really is. And a lot of it has to do with this channel, with talking to fans of different teams and just getting different perspectives. And that's what I try to do here, is give different perspectives. And I understand that you can consume all of this information on other websites and through other media. I just try to give my spin here and there, and try to be as unbiased as humanly possible. So thank you guys so much for all your support, and again, for these discussions, which I think are important to have at a point in time where there is a rage culture that is really trying to just take over and shout down reasonable discussions. Just reasonable discussions. And the way that I picture it is that it would be you and me now. We're sitting and having this really nice discussion on something, and we're having a nice, reasonable debate on the Stanley Cup chances of the New Jersey Devils. We're just having this nice, reasonable discussion, and there's people with megaphones on each side who are screaming, "We're the greatest team in the history of the world. You're stupid." And then on the other side, they're nothing but trash, and they're horrible, and they're awful, and we hate them. And that we, as having this discussion, have to kind of sort of block some of that out. That's how I picture it, and that's kind of what I see us doing here. So thank you guys so much for being a part of that. And hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. I will talk to you guys again soon.